Detecting Talk of the Day, 5 August 2024, 11:50 a.m. We're going to look at this Manicour here, and I want Calabash Digger to watch this video. You all can watch the video. Some people already know what I'm going to show here, but this could trip you up in the wild depending, okay? Especially a beginner. Now, what I'm going to show in this video applies to the Equinox. Probably applies to about every metal detector out there, VLF. Okay? We're going to look at pinpoint. But before I do, you know, I called Calabash because he sent me an apology. How about that? He apologized. You know, not all people will apologize. You know what apologize means, right? Apologize means that you have misjudged, were incorrect, admitting fault, whatever. Well, according to the sharpshooter, it takes a special person to do such a thing. Now, how did this happen exactly? What caused this? Well, I'll just tell you, and I knew this when I picked the phone up, when I seen the email, when I called him. I already knew what had happened. Code name Fluffy. See if y'all can figure that out. Fluffy and his sidekick Duffy. Okay? Calabash is not into YouTube for the money. Neither am I. Don't think he's into it for the money. And he's looking at some metal detectors. He's looking at this triple score that's got some problems. These problems should have been rectified before this machine was released, but Calabash wasn't part of that process. There's others in this country, though, that do a lot of YouTube live streams that's had this detector, but they ain't said nothing, have they? Why is that? Evidently, they're not using the equipment, are they? That's what that tells me. Okay. So that's enough on that. Now, let me say this. I have received an email back from Minelab Engineer concerning a possible update on the Manicour for the custom upper ferrous limits. Their response was they had thought about doing this. And they're going to consider it for a future model. They say the Manicour, people are having a hard enough time using the custom ferrous limits as are currently. And the button, the offerings on the machine to actually alter and do what I'm suggesting might be tough to do. So they're going to look at this for future models. Now, this same Minelab engineer may see this video, and I hope he does, because I'm going to say this straight up about this Manicour. It's my opinion that at the very least, they should do an update on the Manicour. And what should they do? If possible, now maybe this ain't possible, change the custom upper and lower ferrous limits to have a similar numbering system as the preset. And over there in the far right window, you'll notice when you're going up and down with that screen, like in preset, you see the number 6, 5, 4, 7, 8, 9. You see those numbers? Well, evidently, using custom preset, you have finer adjustment. Well, is it possible for Minelab to do an update where you would have, for example, preset 7 upper ferrous limits would correspond to a 7 preset on the custom upper ferrous limits. But if you have a fine tune allowed by moving the shaded area up or down, could you call that 6.5 or 7.5? You see what I'm saying? You know, they got an inverted numbering system on them detectors. You didn't have this with an E-Track and a CTX. You use the same system, you know, the same system on the damn screen. But you don't have that with the Manticore. And I probably should have said something about this when I was looking at this machine sooner, but I didn't. Make the machine a lot easier for a person buying to get used to and be able to relate to the preset versus the custom and setting it up. Common sense. I don't know if it's possible or not to do, though. Meaning, you know, the machine, you would have to be able to have the designation when you're scrolling up with that cursor. It would have to say something like 6.75 or 6.5 or 6.25. You know, those gradients in between what's allowed with the custom versus the preset for upper and lower Ferris limits. In particular, upper Ferris limits. I'm not so worried about the lower, the upper. Okay. So that's that. Next, we're going to look at this Manticore. We're going to look at pinpoint. No, I want Calabash to watch this video. You know, this doesn't get talked about very often. You know, I show stuff on my channel that don't get talked about by a lot of damn people that do a lot of YouTube concerning metal detecting. And I don't have a zillion. I got more damn videos than I've got subscribers on my channel. That may be a damn YouTube USA record, but I don't care. Nothing's going to stop me. As long as they let me put my videos up, I'm going to share data. So when you're using a VLF metal detector, single frequency or multi-frequency, what happens when you go to pinpoint? Well, what happens on the Manticore? Well, if you're in single frequency and you go to pinpoint, you're using, from what I can gather, you're using that same frequency. What would that mean? That would mean you could pinpoint a lower conductor, possibly smaller, deeper, with a higher frequency versus a lower frequency. And vice versa for a high conductor. You know, generally when we're pinpointing a target, we're using pinpoint in the mode we're using. So we would expect a detector that strikes a target in the mode we are detecting with, we would be able to hear it in pinpoint using that same mode. But wonder if you were in the wild and you got tripped up. You started changing mode after you located a target, and you went to pinpoint and you couldn't hear it. That could be the reason why. For example, you could be using the Field 2 on the Equinox 800. You could locate a target. You could go to Park 1 and it might not pinpoint. The Manticore. I'm going to give you just one little example here to show you now. Some of the differences noted in the wild, it will depend on the target size, the target depth, probably ground mineralization, target orientation. Okay? So we're going to do a little demo here on that little piece of foil there. You see it there. I'm going to be up here on these boards with this mighty Manticore with the M9 coil. It's currently on. Okay? 5 kilohertz. Okay? And I'm going to leave the recovery speed in 5. You notice you don't hear that foil. Horseshoe button is in. And I'm going to mash the pinpoint button. Okay? We don't hear anything. Alright, now I'm going up here. We're going to just go all the way to 40. I don't want to make this video too long. 40 kilohertz. Now I'm still in speed 5. Alright, I'm going to mash the pinpoint button. You hear that? You didn't hear that in 5 kilohertz, did you? Okay? Now, we're going to change modes. We're going to get out of single frequency. Multi-IQ. Alternate high conductors. Okay, I'm still in speed 5. Horseshoe is in. Alright, and we're going to mash the pinpoint button. So we hear that fall a little bit. Remember, this is not using just a single low frequency. It's using a lower and a higher frequency. Okay? Now we're going to go down here. Now that was speed 5. All-terrain low conductors. Speed 5. Horseshoe button is in. Okay, now I'm going to mash the horseshoe button. You hear that? You hear how much stronger that signal is? Let me take it out of pinpoint, going back into pinpoint. Out of pinpoint, back in. Okay. All-terrain high conductors. Alright, I'm over here with a call. I'm going to mash the pinpoint button. Hear that? Just a little whisper. Okay? Now, remember now, I set this test up. If I use a dime down there, okay? If I use a quarter, a bigger target, you're not going to see the difference as much. And the reason why I'm showing this is part of the reason why is what Calabash was telling me on the phone and me watching his videos on that triple score. Okay? So this little video here will give him something to sort of look at. Alright? Now this machine we know is running in multi-frequency in pinpoint. We know this. How do we know this? Remember, the Manticore, you see that nick on that nail there? All-terrain low conductors, okay? This is horseshoe out. You hear that. You see that trace up there. Now I'm going to mash the pinpoint. You see that? So you see basically the same trace in pinpoint. If it wouldn't, if it was in, let's say it was in a single frequency of 15. Mash the pinpoint, I'm in 15 kilohertz. We don't see that trace, do we? And we don't get, actually, we don't even get the quality of pinpoint on that nickel. Behaves different, you notice that. All-terrain low conductors, okay, pinpoint. Alright. $15 kilohertz, similar call height. Get the call moved over. So you see that 15 kilohertz, that in pinpoint mode, it's merging with that nail. Hear that? It's more merged with the nail. The old multi-frequency is not at work. It is now. Now listen. Oops, hang on. See how it's hitting on that nickel? That higher frequency used versus 15 kilohertz. You see that? Well, that's going to conclude the video. Everybody have a nice day.